Putazos y Pendejadas Podcast.
¿Qué tal, mi gente? Thank you guys for joining us again on Putazos y Pendejadas. Big weekend, Crawford versus Spence. I will be there live in Vegas. I'm really excited for this one. We've been waiting for this one for a really, really long time. We got Diamond David De Leon, who's going to pick us up on who's going to win, how it's going to go down, and why. David, talk to us.
Well, first of all, Mark, I think I'm going to be a little bit jealous of you. Actually, I know I'm going to be jealous of you because you're going to be in the house and I'm going to be at the house watching the fight. I can't explain it, but it's kind of weird that it's finally happening. This year has been pretty wild. We had Tank versus Ryan, Haney versus Loma, Teofimo versus Taylor, Inoue versus Fulton, and now we have Spence versus Crawford. When I think about this fight, Mark, it feels like Crawford has way more advantages. He can switch stances. He fights equally good as a lefty or a righty. He has power in both hands. He's really strong too. He's not just power punching strong, but he has like whole body strength, like from the ground up. He grew up wrestling, so he can back you up, tie you up, push you around if he needs to. But what I think his biggest advantage is his ability to move. He has quick feet and he can move laterally. He can pivot on a dime and keep his opponents turning, forcing them to keep adjusting their feet. And with all of that, you would think I have Crawford winning the fight, right? But I don't. I think Errol Spence wins this fight. One of the things that makes Crawford a real fighter might be a weakness versus Spence. There's a meanness in Crawford. When he gets hit, he needs to fire back. And most of the time, that's bad news for his opponents, but with Spence, that could be his downfall. Spence is a very skilled pressure fighter with an excellent jab and body attack. Spence comes at you on both fronts. He works you to the head and to the body. And that kind of attack takes its toll on you. A lot of people don't realize when you get hit to the body, you're going to feel the effect of that punch for the whole fight. I've heard fighters describe Crawford's punching power as snapping and quick. That's the type of power you need to set up. But Spence's power is more thuddy and heavy. He can hit you on the arms and the shoulders, your ribs, your hips, your chest. He doesn't need to set up that kind of power. He sets it up with activity and a constant jab. Spence has already said he's stepping in this fight. That's what he always does. Pressure busts pipes. He will be in Crawford's face, and he is going to land his punches, and they're going to cause damage. Spence will draw Crawford into a firefight, and that's where I feel Bud loses because he will receive damage, and he'll want to engage. That's exactly what Spence will want him to do. I have Spence winning by TKO somewhere around the 9th or 10th round.
Chingao, David, I'm going to be there, man. I don't know who to pick either, but I'm going to pick now. You got the counter puncher, and then you got the pressure fighter. At their age, I think the pressure fighter is going to win. Spence is a few years younger. I'm going to go with him. Crawford looked to slow down just a little bit in the last one. He is 35 years old. I mean, with anybody else, I think he would win with his counter punching and anything, but this is Spence. I'm going to go ahead and go with Spence and that pressure fighting. That I'm really, really happy to be there, man. Another reason I'm happy to be there is because Nonito Donaire, a legend, is going to be there as well, possibly his last fight. You know, he's been a legendary fighter. 5 division champ, 4 division unified champion. He's one of 6 fighters that's been champion in 3 different decades. I'm really excited to see him there, man. It just keeps getting better and better for me. I think Pitbull's going to be on that card as well. You know, what do you think about the legendary Nonito Donaire, David?
Well, Mark, always been a fan of Nonito Donaire. I remember the first time I saw him fight, it was back in 2007 versus Vic Darchinyan. Vic Darchinyan was 28-0 at the time, 112-pound champ at flyweight. And it was Nonito Donaire's first world title fight. And he stopped Darchinyan in that fight around the 5th round with a counter left hook. It was a beautiful shot, stepped back, caught Darchinyan coming in. And that would be a punch that we would see time and time again in his career. One of the things that I always liked about Nonito was that not only did I like him as a fighter, but I also liked him outside of the ring. I thought he was a credit to the sport. He always conducted himself with class. He showed his opponents respect, and he never felt the need to tear down his opponents or talk bad about them. Another thing about him outside of the ring was he was very honorable. He had a lot of integrity. And he had signed himself up for 365-day, 24/7 drug testing, just to prove that not only was he a top fighter in the sport, but he was also a clean fighter. He's in pretty tough Saturday. He's got a fighter named Alejandro Santiago. This is a guy who's fought for a world title before back in 2018. He got a draw versus Jerwin Ancajas. Santiago is a pretty short, stout fighter, aggressive. He likes to come in behind a jab and he attacks the body a lot. That's not the style that you want to face when you're 40 years old. But, Nonito's going to try to make history to break his own record, actually. He was already the oldest bantamweight world champion. He's going to try to break his own record and become the oldest bantamweight champion at 40 years old. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. This is not a guarantee. Santiago will push Nonito, but regardless of what happens on Saturday, Mark, Nonito Donaire is a Hall of Famer and a legend, and he'll be missed when he's gone. One more thing, can I say, doesn't his loss or the fight that he gave Inoue in their first fight, doesn't that age a little bit better now that we've seen how great Inoue is and you saw how Nonito took him to the brink?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, no, not a lot of fighters have fought Inoue and how great Inoue is, right? Not a lot of fighters have fought him like Donaire has. Donaire is one of the guys that's taken him to the brink. So, yeah, that tells you what type of fighter he was to do it at the age he did it at as well. Nonito Donaire, man, the Filipino Flash, man, threw putazos for 20 years. He will be missed if this is his last fight. David, Spence, Crawford, back to Spence Crawford. The odds, Crawford is minus 150. Spence is plus 123. This fight is not even $1 difference, man. It's 70 cents difference between them. The one bet I do think is the best bet for the night is the draw, man. You never know because of the way the judges are nowadays. We may have a draw. It's plus 1,400. So you bet $100, you win 1,400. That seems a good bet. I'm gonna go ahead and bet that one.
No draws, Mark. No draws.
Hoping that the judges screw it up like they have a couple of times this year. So that one could be a draw. Hopefully it's not.
It's not out of the question, man. You're right.
Not out of the question, but it's going to be a hell of a night. I'm going to be there, man. Legendary night, legends, a legendary fight with legendary fighters. We got Pitbull in the mix as well. It just keeps getting better and better for me, man. Thank you very much for joining us. Please, guys, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys think. Tell us who's going to win, what round, how it's going to go down, and we'll see you guys.
Putazos y Pendejadas Podcast.